Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. I mean,
Ameen. Ameen. Welcome, welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. This is the first part of the Survival Show, commonly known as the Your Immunity Project. And I'm your host, assisted by Sister Cheryl. I'm Dr. Alim, and this is where it all happens. This is the hour of truth, as they used to call it. It's stretched out to about an hour and a half, but it's the survival show because we talk about all of those things that have to do with your and my survival in a time of great danger. And so we begin with prayer and we ask for help and guidance from God, because if God doesn't guide us today, we're in trouble. I'm giving out the best information that I can, and others are doing the same. But without the guidance of Allah, the master of this day of judgment, we're all lost. And so we see many who have gone astray. We see many upon whom wrath is being brought down, and we don't want to be in that number. So welcome, welcome. This is the Your Immunity Project. I'm your host, Dr. Alim. We follow the 5 principles, as always. Uh, that way we don't get lost and don't don't go astray, as others may have done. And those 5 principles are, as you may remember, prevention's number 1. That's because it's the most important. Diagnosis is number 2, because sometimes things go wrong, and nowadays a lot of things are going wrong. And treatment is number 3, because after something has gone wrong, what are you going to do about it? And then, of course, principle number 4 is research, because there are always new developments. There are always unanswered questions. And who are you going to trust nowadays to do your research, to answer the unanswered questions? Well, you have to trust yourself. And so that's what we do here on the Your Immunity Project, with the emphasis on your. We try to answer the unanswered questions that may have something to do with your or my ability to survive. So welcome once again. This is the Your Immunity Project. And of course, the 5th principle is education. And education is what we're all about. We try to give in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, each and every week. We try to give you updated information, educational information, useful information, information that you can put into action right away as a part of your survival plan. And if you update constantly and keep up to date, and if you're tuned into the Your Immunity Project, we typically stay about 19 months ahead of the headlines. Some of the headlines we show on any given broadcast, we showed the original 19 months before. Then all of a sudden, 19 months later, it's headline news. And so this is the Your Immunity Project. It's all about survival. The race is not to the swift nor the strong, but to those who endure to the end. And to my mind, that means survival. And so you may be strong, you may be swift, but if you don't endure, you haven't survived. And survival means that you are here after everything else has failed. When the dust settles from whatever is taking place in this very dangerous world, at this very dangerous time, at this very chaotic, tumultuous time, if you're left standing after all the dust settles, then you're one of the survivors. And so that's why we do what we do. We try to collect as much information and data as possible and impart it to as many people as possible because, hey, I don't want to survive by myself if I'm one of the lucky ones that's here after what is essentially the Third World War, the War of Armageddon. You see, what is there to survive? You have to survive this war. See, look how many casualties there are already to this war. Well, do you want to be one of them? And it's total war. It's not just gunfire. It's not just artillery. It's not just dropping bombs. But they're using food as a weapon. They're using money as a weapon. They're using trade and commerce as a weapon. They're using oil as a weapon. They're using every means and method to forge weapons of war. They're using information as a weapon. And it's targeting you and me. And so we need to pay attention. So welcome to the Your Immunity Project. This is the 24th day of March. And so, Sister Cheryl, let's go to our headlines. The broadcast this evening may be a little shorter than usual. We'll try to reserve some time at the end for your comments or questions if you have them. But let's dive right on into our headlines, and we're going to take a look at some things in a slightly different way. We're not just going to report on disease outbreaks and epidemics and vaccines and all the rest of it, but we're going to take a broader look. And then, of course, part 2 of the Survival Show is tomorrow night with the 19th element. And the orientation there, of course, is geopolitical, strategic, war and peace issues. But all those issues are starting to merge. And so we kind of loosen the guidelines on what we talk about because it's all turning out to be the same thing. And so this is our logo, this is our motto for the Your Immunity Project. Plan on survival. Because if you don't plan on it, and then don't plan on surviving, you know, so you got to plan. If you go on vacation, don't you plan it? If you start a business, don't you have a business plan? Of course you do. Don't you plan your family? Of course you do. And so what about survival, which is more important than all of anything else, and it's the foundation on which everything else is based. Because if you don't survive, then you don't have a family. If you don't survive, then you don't have a business. If you don't survive, then you don't go on vacation. So the master plan has to be your plan of survival. And plan is both a noun, which means it is a thing that has to exist, so it should be written down on paper and updated frequently. But plan is also a verb. It's an action word. So it means survival requires action. You have to take action. The action that you take proves that you are surviving. The lack of action would actually be a sign of a lack of survival. So since you want to survive every day, then you have to do something every day in the direction of your and my survival. And what about your family? What about your friends? What about your neighbors? What about your community? So survival should not just be an individual thing. What would be the use of you being the last man alive on earth? They made a movie like that, didn't they? And it was pretty much tragic, wasn't it? So we don't want that. We want to be here with everybody else that wants to be here. And those are the people who plan to be here. So we plan to be with one another. Next image, please. Now, this is a part of my survival plan. Where I live, like where you live, they're attacking me on almost a daily basis. Hardly a day goes by that I'm not under personal attack, just like you. These are what they call chemtrails. And this was taken yesterday, right over my house. And so I couldn't go outside yesterday. I couldn't go for a walk. I couldn't ride my bike. I couldn't go out and about and take care of business that would put me in danger. Look at the air quality, -10, deadly. And today, I'm not going to show it, but the air quality report from today was even worse. So now people who ignore air quality and go on and breathe whatever's in the air are endangering themselves. Although I didn't do a spectral analysis of this particular chemtrail, I have in the past. And what these chemtrails contain is, as the name suggests, chemicals like benzene, dioxin, vinyl chloride, all of which cause cancer. Biologicals are in there, viruses like the COVID-19 virus, if that's what it is. I call it the COVID-19 agent. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's natural, I know that for sure. But sometimes I find influenza in the chemtrails, other viruses, hepatitis even. I even found rabies one time. So almost anything, biological or chemical, can be in a chemtrail. And then I think probably the worst part is the radioactive elements, like strontium, uranium, plutonium, polonium. Radioactive elements coming from the West Coast wildfires. And we'll talk more about those wildfires later in the broadcast today. And so people who ignore the chemtrails do so at the risk of their lives. And not only do we have chemicals and radiological elements, isotopes, but there's also electronics, nanoelectronics, smart dust, things that connect you to the Internet of Things. Vaccines sometimes are found in the chemtrails. Fungus found in the chemtrails. One year, maybe 4 years ago, I think it was, I ignored chemtrails and I ended up with a fungal infection in my lungs. And I almost died, literally. And many of the people who are dying that you hear about, these are the people who ignored the chemtrails. And they caught something, they got something, and it was deadly. This is what would you call it? This is biological warfare against the civilian population of the United States and other developed countries. We've pointed out in previous broadcasts, when we researched the origin of this is being done by the Pentagon. This is being done by DARPA, the Defense Agency for Advanced Research of the Pentagon. It's partly financed by Israel. So now you see that the same policies that are going on in Gaza and the West Bank and Lebanon, attacks against civilian populations, using all manner of weapons. Well, the same thing's going on here. They're attacking you, they're attacking me. There's no ceasefire in Gaza, there's no ceasefire in Lebanon. There's no ceasefire here. Now, some of the state legislatures over the past year or two, they've tried to pass legislation to prevent this. You actually have some states that are saying that the U.S. government should stop attacking our state. They should stop attacking us. The Pentagon should stop attacking us. The Pentagon should stop trying to kill American civilians. Don't you agree? But of course, the federal government doesn't respect what some state legislature passes. They fly the planes overhead anyhow and dump all the poison on the people and make the people sick. So this is the Your Immunity Project. And I published this as a part of my survival plan, so I know what is safe for me to do on any given day or what's not safe. And I would advise you to do the same. Now, as we finish the construction of the website, I'm going to be offering environmental scans as a part of the service. So this is the sky where I live. What about the sky where you live? What kind of air are you breathing? You see? And so if you don't have a way of determining that, and the weatherman seems to ignore chemtrails, they're under a gag order. They better not mention chemtrails in the weather report that they give on television. They better not mention chemtrails. They better insist on the official narrative. Oh, these are just condensation trails. It's just water vapor from jet engines. No, it's not. It's deadly chemicals being sprayed by the skunk of the planet Earth. Next image, please, and you better pay attention. The skunk is out to kill you. Now, here's an announcement. Afro-Descended Nation is having an event tomorrow. It's a town hall meeting commemorating the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. Well, I think that has something to do with me, and I bet it has something to do with you. So please support Afro-Descended Nations town hall meeting and participate. Let's commemorate. Let's remember the, 100 million victims of slavery at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Those are the ones that didn't make it. And we are the descendants of those who did. And so let's commemorate, let us remember our ancestors in the tragic 400 years that has now thankfully come to its conclusion. The next image, please. So Sister Cheryl, maybe you can read part of this. This is part of the announcement of the town hall meeting. And I think, well, I don't see the contact information, but Why don't you just read part of it and people can look it up for themselves?
Okay, yes, sir. Afro Descendant Town Hall. Dear community members, you are invited to attend a special Afro Descendant Nation Town Hall meeting on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, as we commemorate the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade recognized by the United Nations.
Okay,
This important
go ahead.
Okay, this important gathering will reflect on the history, journey of our ancestors through the door of no return, including a presentation from a tour guide, I believe that's Elmina Slave Castle,
Yes.
one of the historic departing points during the transatlantic slave trade. Together we will connect this history to the ongoing journey and future of Afro-descendant peoples.
Okay.
Town Hall theme, from the door of no return to the future of Afro-descendant peoples.
Yes. So if you've been to Ghana and if you've been to Elmina Castle, then you know exactly what this means. There is a door of no return because those that went through that door and onto a slave ship, as far as our people knew back then, you don't return. So they called it the door of no return. And it's at Elmina Castle, not far from Accra, Ghana. So if you ever get a chance to visit it, it is really a moving experience when you see the reality of what took place among our ancestors. So please support Afro-Descendant Nation, support yourself, participate with the town hall meeting tomorrow night. Let's look at the next image, please. Now that's Dr. Ralph Barrick. It looks like if you had to put the spotlight on one individual who's responsible for creating the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the chimeric virus that caused the pandemic and the lockdown, it's probably Ralph Barrick. I mean, Anthony Fauci was the spokesman for it in the spotlight on television, became known as America's doctor. But the scientists in the laboratory who actually did the scientific work of putting COVID-19 together is this man, Ralph Barrick from the University of North Carolina. So the US government's ongoing cover-up of Ralph Barrick's lab notebooks is a clear sign it knows far more than it admits about the origins of COVID-19. Yes, because he was probably just a subcontractor. He was just being paid by probably the Pentagon. This was just a bioweapons laboratory in North Carolina, just like the 46 bioweapons laboratories that the Pentagon, DARPA, were operating in Ukraine and other parts of the world. They have bioweapons laboratories in many countries around the world, including places like Nigeria, including places like Ghana that we just mentioned. The Pentagon's operating bioweapons laboratories in Ghana, and so they operate them here. And so the one at the University of North Carolina was operated by Ralph Barrick. And so his notebooks reveal all of the details of how an artificial virus was constructed. And just like the Epstein files are being held back from public scrutiny, so too are the notebooks of Dr. Ralph Barrick. Next image, please. And just like people say, what is Anthony Fauci still doing walking around, a free man? People are asking the same thing about Ralph Barrick. He's the mad scientist that invented COVID-19. Well, he shouldn't be walking around all these dead people that he's responsible for. So Barrick's lab had the technical ability to do it. You see, so he had the ability to reverse genetic systems, create chimeric viruses. Chimera is where you take different species and you combine them into a new species. So the COVID-19 agent, like I like to call it, is a chimeric virus. And it has influenza in it, it has coronavirus in it, it has rabies in it, it has SV40 virus genes in it. So it's a mixture of all these different natural viruses to create an artificial virus with very specific properties, such as the ability to produce the spike protein. So one of the other viruses that make up this chimera is the HIV virus, and that's why people who get who get COVID and people who get the COVID so-called vaccine, that's why they start testing positive for HIV. That's the spike protein doing that. In 2018, Diffuse proposal to the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, led by Barrick, explicitly outlined laboratory manipulations capable of producing a SARS-CoV-2-like virus. So again, here's DARPA again, designing a biological weapon to be used against the American people and the entire world. And this research project led by Dr. Ralph Barrick. Although DARPA declined to fund Diffuse, most team members later received similar funding through other grants from the National Institutes of Health. See, there's Anthony Fauci. So this is the conspiracy that's not a theory. Next image, please. Now, there's more details here. I'm not going to read through all of it. But U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA, consulted Barrick and other experts from 2015 onwards and even ran pandemic war games. We talked about this in the past. Event 201, convened at Johns Hopkins University, where they did a computer simulation of the COVID-19 pandemic before it happened in October of 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And so they war gamed all of these things to see how it would work and to tweak it, to make it go the way they want it to go. And so on and on. This is just lists of evidence showing the culpability of Dr. Ralph Barrick as probably the primary researcher who could be blamed for the development of this artificial biological weapon that has killed millions, maybe billions, before it's over. Next image, please. Remember, it's a depopulation agenda, even though nobody likes to use that word. They want to call it everything else except what it is. It's a depopulation agenda. And it's not just vaccines. It's not just bombs and bullets. What is chlorpyrifos? Chlorpyrifos. It's used in agriculture to grow soybeans and fruit and nuts, broccoli, cauliflower, and other crops. And guess what it does? It causes Parkinson's disease. So you're eating your broccoli, you're eating your cauliflower. And even though you washed it off, this chlorpyrifos ends up in your body, poisoning you, and it attacks the nervous system. And you wonder what's wrong, and then later you get diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it seems to be no end to it and no cure for it. And of course, what has happened is that your brain cells have been poisoned by this herbicide. Next image, please. And of course, Parkinson's disease is epidemic. And why is it epidemic? It's epidemic because of the use of these chemicals in agriculture. So the only way to avoid that, of course, is to not use it. But they won't stop using it. But that means that you have to grow your own food and not use it. Ultra-processed foods. Here we go again, the food chain. The weaponization of the food chain. Ultra-processed foods linked to reduced fertility and embryonic development. And I'm going to post this article because a lot of people eat ultra-processed foods. They eat things in these bright packages and they go to the supermarket and they read the list of ingredients and they try to decipher what all those chemicals are. Well, all those chemicals are what we're talking about here as ultra-processed foods, and you shouldn't eat it. You shouldn't eat it. As a matter of fact, real food does not come with ingredients or a label. Real food created by God comes without a label and without a list of ingredients. So I used to tell all of my patients, you know, if you find yourself reading a label, hey, just put it down and walk away and it won't be any trouble. But if you read the label is designed to deceive you into buying it. And then when you buy it and you consume it, now that's why you're sick. That's why you have Parkinson's disease. That's why you can't get pregnant. That's why you have all of these ailments, because they poisoned you. And what this study shows is that pregnant women, they bestow the curse of ultra-processed food on their babies. So their babies are born with problems. That's where a lot of these premature births are due to. People eating ultra-processed food while they're pregnant or before they got pregnant. And it's not just the mothers, it's also the fathers. The father on a diet of highly processed food. But what kind of child is he going to sire? Even if the mother's are not doing that, hey, the father counts too, and is damaging the future generations. And so this explains why the generations of children being born today are not as smart as their parents. There's been a steady decline in the IQ of people in America. At the end of World War II, the average American had an IQ of about 110. Now the average American has an IQ of less than 90. And you know people that have IQs less than that. I'm talking about the average. Next image, please. So ultra-processed foods have done their job, along with vaccines, in destroying the intelligence of human beings. Now, wouldn't you know it, Pfizer, the #1 criminal corporation in the world, having paid billions of dollars in criminal fines for research fraud, bribing doctors, fraudulent research, all kinds of crimes that they've committed. Now, that doesn't include the crime against humanity of mass murder. I don't mean that. I mean, I'm talking about the financial crimes that they have committed, the scientific crimes that they've committed. I'm not mentioning the depopulation crime, but Pfizer and Valneva have a Lyme disease vaccine that shows 70% efficacy, which means success in preventing the transmission of Lyme disease. Now, isn't this interesting? I think we reported last week that we showed that Lyme disease is also another one of these biological weapons. That's a weaponized insect. That tick that escaped from a biological weapons laboratory and caused a disease all over the eastern coast of the United States. And now Pfizer comes out with a vaccine. Wouldn't you know it? Next image, please. And they say it's 70% effective. Well, when I got 70% on an exam in school, I think that was a D. Nearly 18,000 young people in Haryana, that's in India, died from heart attacks in the last year. In one little city in India, 18,000 people under the age of 25 have dropped dead from sudden heart attacks. I don't know what their vaccine status was, but I can guess. Next image, please. Where there's wildfire smoke, there's poor mental health. Research has increasingly connected wildfire and smoke with worsening mental health, partly due to damage in the brain. So what happens is these particles that are in the smoke get inhaled and can make it through the blood-brain barrier, and now you have smoke particles, soot particles that are in the brain tissue. Now, we already showed you the chemtrails. So they're talking about smoke. And we did have smoky days, and there's wildfires. There's a huge wildfire in Nebraska burning right now. And of course, California, what are they famous for? Wildfires. And the problem is the wildfires and the wildfire smoke is highly toxic and radioactive. Fukushima meltdown in 2011 has crossed the Pacific Ocean and made all of the West Coast, all the way to Alaska, all the way down the coast of America into Mexico and South America, all that's radioactive. And all those plants have absorbed radioactive isotopes from Fukushima since 2011. So when those trees catch on fire, hey, the smoke is radioactive. And then it covers the entire country. So this research is now showing the effects of the smoke that you and I were breathing 2 or 3 years ago when they had those out of control wildfires. And so the particles that they talk about that are damaging the brain, they don't really do the spectral analysis like I do. They don't actually mention the fact that the particles that are in your brain are little particles that are radioactive isotopes. Next image, please. And it's causing brain damage, brain disease. The disease is most often associated with air pollution and wildfire exposure, heart disease, cancer, and respiratory diseases, all rank in the top 10 leading causes of death. Suicide ranks 11th. Roughly a quarter of the population suffered from some form of mental illness in 2024. 25% of people are crazy. Meanwhile, wildfire smoke is growing worse. That's true particularly in rural areas that were once relatively free of any type of air pollution. Next image, please. So now one of the projects that we showed you last year when all this smoke was raging was how to create an indoor air filter. Just using cardboard boxes and a box fan, you can purify the air inside your house. On days when you can't go outside, you can purify the air inside your house. If you don't do that, then the toxins concentrate themselves inside your house. And sometimes it could be even worse to be inside than to be outside. All vaccines will kill you and your children. And we showed this last week. Next image. There's no accountability. There's no liability. You can't sue them because they killed your baby. Now, scientists uncover how a malfunctioning immune system is driving persistent long COVID symptoms. And there's millions of people, even people that you know, and maybe even you yourself, this is what you're suffering from. You're suffering from an immune system that got triggered by the vaccine or by the agent, either one, and now it's working overtime, causing inflammation all over the body. And inflammation is like a fire burning, a slow, smoldering fire that burns up your brain, burns up your heart, burns up your kidneys, eventually burns you up. Next image, please. They call it long COVID. So the immune system that won't turn off, that's what we're talking about. Next image, please. So I wonder if fasting would help. See, fasting helps to regulate the immune system. A 2 or 3 day fast doubles the power of the immune system. But my question would be, see, this would be another research project. See, does it actually reduce the inflammation? And that would be very easy to determine. So maybe we ought to put together a study group of people who don't mind fasting 2 or 3 days and see if it makes a change in the level of inflammation in their bodies. Because that would be a big help to a lot of people if that were true. Study reveals that an impaired innate immune system is likely behind long COVID manifestations. So whether it's the lung or the heart or the kidneys or the liver or the brain or the eyes, hey, it's all the same thing. Next image, just where did the fire break out? Where did it go? So we showed this last week that's showing that all of the natural diseases that these vaccines are created to protect you from, the vaccine is multiple times worse than the actual natural disease. And that's especially true for measles, which is going to be the big killer as we go forward. Next image, please. And I keep emphasizing that because people think of measles as a benign disease instead of the killer that it actually is. So do you understand that the messenger RNA shot was not some accident or just a bad vaccine? It is a genetic toxin or weapon, that's what I would have said, that will injure and kill human beings for generations to come. So it's the depopulation agenda. Next image, please. How will you survive? Now, this is Peter Thiel. Let me do something here real quick before I create a problem for myself. And so let me come back here. So we're going to close out with a few other images here. And so this is Peter Thiel. He's the founder of Palantir. And of course, he's one of the original, what did they call them, the PayPal mafia with Elon Musk and all of the big tech oligarchs. So he's recently been giving a series of lectures around the world on the Antichrist. And some people say that artificial intelligence is the Antichrist, is Dajjal. And people have heard me say that Dajjal sounds like digital to me. And that's what artificial intelligence is all about. And here is Palantir's CEO. And I showed you earlier in the broadcast, he just got a $100 million contract from the Pentagon to do AI surveillance. And so he's meeting with the Pope right now. He's explaining to the Pope who the Antichrist is. So we'll check and see what the Pope has to say after his audience with Peter Thiel. Next image, please. And so this is the contract that the Pentagon gave to Peter Thiel, Palantir. Now, Palantir is from the Lord of the Rings. You know, if you saw the movie, The Lord of the Rings, and they had the Eye of Sauron, you see, that's Palantir is like a crystal ball. And that's what Palantir means, is a crystal ball, so you can see everything, just like the Eye of Sauron in the movie. He could see everything everywhere. He could see everybody. If you could see him, he could see you. And so that's what Palantir has. It's a system of satellite surveillance, and it's connected with the internet. It's connected with cell phones. It's connected with cell phone towers. Everything that's electronic is now under surveillance. And so what you see here is the role that Palantir is playing with the Pentagon. So all of the fights, all of the bombings, all of the targeting, all of the killing being done in Iran and other places around the world, artificial intelligence is leading the way. So it was artificial intelligence that supplied the targeting data that led to the bombing of that school in Iran that killed 165 little girls. Palantir did that. Peter Thiel did that. And now he's running the Pentagon. Some people have remarked that the Secretary of War, as he likes to call himself, Pete Hegseth, they point out that he's not too smart. I mean, people notice things like that. When you're the Secretary of War, and they notice that you're not too smart, not too swift upstairs, superficial and shallow, but not to worry, he doesn't have to think. Palantir thinks for him. Same thing with Trump. Why are you upset because Trump acts deranged and demented and like a mad lunatic? Not to worry, Palantir got it covered. Who said Trump was making the decisions anyhow? Who said Pete Hegseth was making some decisions? Palantir is making the decisions. Artificial intelligence, Dajjal, the Antichrist is making the decisions. Next image, please. Well, that's how I put it together. How do you put it together? Deal to make Palantir AI Maven the core military system, the most revolutionary surveillance tool yet to track civilians and increase the kill chain. What do they mean, increase the kill chain? Aren't they already killing enough people? Well, see, depopulation agenda, human intelligence wasn't smart enough, evidently, to carry out the depopulation agenda. So now AI, artificial intelligence, digital intelligence, Dajjal, the Antichrist, wouldn't you know it, is pitching in to help with the depopulation agenda. And so now Palantir is taking over the Pentagon and is actually giving orders to the generals. Used to be generals gave the orders. Now artificial intelligence is giving orders to everybody, from the president on down. Who do you think writes his speeches if it's not artificial intelligence? That's why it doesn't sound so intelligent. Next image, please, because it's artificial. So this company, this Maven, or this Maven platform, this is the military platform created by Peter Thiel, the Antichrist guy, and it's called Maven. And this is what has been sold to the Pentagon to run their war machine. It's artificial intelligence making the decisions, the targeting data, devising the strategy, deciding what should be done and how many lives should be taken and in what manner. Next image, please. So it's called Maven. And Maven, which is a Yiddish word. It's a Yiddish word. It means connoisseur, expert, know-it-all, and was formed in 2017. So now this is what is running the U.S. military. This is what is in charge, not the generals. Some people say the generals don't agree with Trump. So what? They said Admiral, he quit. So what? They said some of the sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln, they in revolt, they in mutiny. So what? Artificial intelligence is controlling their ship, controlling their plane, controlling their officers, controlling their president. What I'm suggesting is that artificial intelligence has taken the country. Next image, please. People suspected that with Joe Biden. You know, he wasn't deciding anything. All the executive orders and bills were signed by AutoPen, which is artificial intelligence. Well, look at Trump. You think he's making decisions? That man can't even think. Skynet, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, announces plans to integrate everything at the Pentagon with artificial intelligence. Will appropriate data available, including mission systems across every service and component. Now go back over that. What does he mean when he said will appropriate data available? Meaning they're going to tap into your cell phone, they're going to tap into your text messages, all your social media posts, all of the databases held by anybody that you have any contact with, where you went to school, where you worked, your banking information, financial information, tax information, everything that's in a government database or private industry database. AI will appropriate that data and introduce it into the Palantir kill chain, the Maven kill chain. So maybe depending on your social media posts, maybe when it gets fed into Maven will decide that you're a domestic terrorist and you need to be put on the kill chain list. They could make your cell phone explode, couldn't they? Is that how they did that last year? When they killed all those people with the cell phones exploding? Was that Palantir? Was that Peter Thiel, the Antichrist? Next image, please. Could they make your cell phone explode? Or your house? How about your smart house? Did they put a smart meter in your house like they did my house? Your smart home can be easily hacked. New safety standards will help, but stay vigilant. How could you stay vigilant when your own house has been weaponized against you? People say some of those wildfires in California or in those smart houses, and they just gave a signal and set the house on fire. They showed images and videos of houses catching on fire from the inside. It wasn't sparks from the outside that caught the roof on fire. No, the whole house caught on fire. And the people inside of it got incinerated. So have they set everybody up in their house so they could be incinerated in their house? That unlike the Nazis in World War II, where they had to take you somewhere, put you on a train and take you to an oven to burn you up. But now they can burn you up in your own house. So they say, is that Palantir? Is that Peter Thiel? Is that artificial intelligence? Is that Dajjal? Is that how they're going to take you out? What are you going to do about this? Next image, please. And not only do they have smart homes, they got smart cities. Do you think they could blow up a whole city? I'm just asking the question. I don't know. I'm just asking the question. So AI, you thought the Great Depression was bad. I guess they asked AI the question, how bad are things going to get? I think that's what it was. You see, they asked AI, how bad is this thing going to get for human beings once you take over? And basically the answer that came back from artificial intelligence, oh, you thought the depression, the Great Depression in the 1930s was bad? Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. And it's right on your doorstep. That's the point of this. I'm not trying to make light of it. It's right on your doorstep right now. The imminent threat is about ready to overtake the country. And since we're in the country, we have to be prepared and have a plan of how we're going to counter this attack. Next image, please. See, look at the fertilizer problem. It's not just oil and natural gas that's not coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. More importantly, in some respects, is the fertilizer that is not being shipped around the world. Because fertilizer is necessary in many places just to have a harvest, just to grow food. And if the farmers can't get fertilizer in time, it's the growing season. You can't just deliver it any time. It has to be delivered now. It's springtime. And so if the fertilizer doesn't make it out throughout the world where it's needed, then famine is sure to be here in short order. Now, this was all in the news because Iran, they say, fired a missile that hit Diego Garcia, a British and American military base in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And what it means is that that's 4,000 kilometers away from Tehran. And if they can hit Diego Garcia, then it means they can hit all of Europe. Now, keep in mind, Iran is a huge country. It's as big as Western Europe. It's as big as the entirety of Western Europe. That's how big it is. It's a huge country. And now they have standoff weapons that basically says that the sphere of influence of the re-emergent Persian Empire is at least 4,000 kilometers. So you better leave us alone. And they're proving it every day. Although at a stiff price, they're paying a heavy price, but so is the enemy. Next image, please. Now, Iran said they could fight for the next 10 years. America is saying we hope it's over in the next 10 days. Now, Trump said he issued a 48-hour ultimatum saying that if they didn't surrender, essentially, and open the Strait of Hormuz, that he was going to bomb the energy infrastructure in Iran. Now, the big headline, of course, today was that Trump blinked and backed down and said out of consideration of the allegedly secret talks taking place, that he's going to give Iran another 5 days before he bombs them into smithereens if they don't come around. But of course, Israel went ahead and hit the energy infrastructure despite what Trump said. And so Iran said, if you hit our energy infrastructure, we're going to hit yours. And so many people interpreted that to mean, yeah, they're going to put the lights out in Saudi Arabia. They're going to put the lights out in the United Arab Emirates and all of those Gulf states. But I think that Iran also meant, I'm going to put the lights out in America. And they announced that they have a cyber warfare group that is able to hack and has hacked into the U.S. power grid. And at the appropriate time, they can put the entire country of America in the dark through cyber warfare, not with missiles. But then wouldn't you know it, there was an explosion at one of the largest oil refineries in America, Valero, down in Port Arthur, Texas. And nobody knows how it blew up. Right after they blew up the oil refinery in Iran, now here's an oil refinery in Texas that blows up. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Next image, please. Makes you wonder. Yeah, they said they had sleeper cells. See, last week they were talking about Iran might have sleeper cells inside the United States. That on command they might do something. Of course, I'm not suggesting that that's what this was. They just said this was an accidental fire. And I'm sure they wouldn't lie. I'm sure if Iran had something to do with it, Trump would get on TV and tell us, wouldn't he? He wouldn't lie about something like that, would he? They wouldn't try to cover that up, would they? Next image, please. I'm sure they wouldn't. Hey, Trump, you're fired. So I wish that was true, but he is getting fired. And we're going to talk about all of these issues tomorrow night on the 19th Element, you know, because this war is spreading. And actually, I think, who was it? The foreign minister of Russia, Lavrov, he just said it straight out. This is World War III. We are in the middle of World War III. Call it Armageddon if you want. Call it the Malhama if you want. Call it whatever you want. But this is World War III. And so many people will not survive this. Many people who are alive in the world today, they will not be alive a year from now. And so part of what we must understand is that it's up to us to guarantee our own survival. With the help of God, of course, with the help of one another, we can do it. But if we don't even think about it, if our attention is somewhere else, on non-survival issues, on trivial issues, on petty issues, well, then we will be among the casualties of this great war. Remember, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the war of Armageddon is a war for the minds of men. But the stakes of that war are the lives of men. And so artificial intelligence and other weapons are being used to capture your mind. Even the entertainment industry is used to capture your mind and attention. So you're not paying attention to the things that you need to pay attention to that have to do with your and my survival. So was that the last image, Sister Cheryl? I think it was. And if it is, then we'll go to our chat room. That was the last image. And those of you who have a comment or question, we'll take a few minutes to accept those if there are any. And if not, let me remind you tomorrow night, the 19th Element, geopolitical issues, strategic issues, war and peace issues, same time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, on other platforms as well, on Facebook, Zoom, and my channel on YouTube, Dr. Alim Muhammad on YouTube. And I want to thank all the new subscribers who have signed up, and please don't forget to like and share so we can grow the station even more. So do we have anyone that has a comment or a question?
No, sir, no questions on Facebook or YouTube, and no hands raised here on Zoom.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, well then that does it for our broadcast for this evening. And I look forward to being with you again in about 24 hours when the 19th Element takes place. And we talk about the geopolitical issues. And we really got some issues going on now, don't we? And so tomorrow evening, inshallah, we'll deal with as much of that as we can. So thanks for being with us. Don't forget to share the video if you're on YouTube with your friends and family who weren't with us live, but they can catch it anytime on YouTube. So thank you for being with us. Thank you, Sister Cheryl, for your assistance. May Allah bless and keep us and grant us success and prosperity and victory over the disbelieving people. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for a wonderful broadcast this evening, Dr. Alim. And we will close out in prayer. Attention prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. Ameen.
Ameen.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum. And it was a good show, Sister Cheryl and Dr. Alim.
Thank you.
To Allah. Thank you, Sister Viola. Praises be to Allah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Well,